Hey everyone, it's Kira with Polymer Clay TV, and today I'm going to show you how to do image transfers using magic transfer paper and Color Me magic transfers. We're going to play with some magic transfer paper today. So this is a pre-printed one that you can get at the shop. It's called Lotus Mandalas. And I also wanted to show you that you can print anything you want on to the magic transfer paper. This one is a color image transfer sheet that I got from someone on Etsy. So we're going to use Primo Accents clay. It works really well with this technique. And I'm actually using pearl because the mandala has only black lines, so the clay color is going to show through. And it works best on a light color, pearl, white, ecru, any of the light colors. And I've got, this is the Primo Accents copper that I'm going to use to create the metal color. I've got this one that I cut out just simply with scissors. And I have rolled my backing sheet to a number 1, the thickest setting, and my transferring sheet to a number 3, which is a medium setting. I've got my Moroccan lanterns cutters, which is what I'm going to use for that. And the one that I did in the preview was the mod lanterns, and I just used the 2 middle cutters to create that stacked pendant. So all you need to do here to get started is to take your conditioned light color clay, and I'm going to put mine on a tile to make it a little easier to move it around and stuff. And you're just going to trim the magic transfer paper and transfer it image side down by burnishing it, which basically means rubbing it, making full contact with the clay, making sure there's no air bubbles underneath. And then I like to let it sit for a few minutes. It depends on how soft your clay is, how humid it is, how cold it is. But what you want to see is the image starting to look like it's coming through. I mean, this one's coming through really well, but it's still not ready. The clay will start to leach plasticizer into the paper and turn the paper sort of a darker, oily looking color, and that's how I know that it's ready. I would say for me to get a perfect, flawless transfer, it takes anywhere from 1 minute to sometimes 10 minutes. It just depends completely on the weather in your house. All right, once you feel like your transfer is ready to pull it off, we're going to need some water. Now, usually I would do this in my sink and just gently wet the back of this and then give it a rinse in the sink. Instead, I'm going to show you using a bowl of water, and here's what we're looking for. See that? When I wet this, I'm looking for the design to show through. And this is just regular water I'm dripping on here. And what happens is the water starts to immediately dissolve. So you can see that my design is showing through. The next thing I would do is peel this off of my tile. If it were in the sink, I'd take the tile straight to the sink, but here we go, and I'm going to drop this right in here and just give it a swish, and you can see the paper dissolves away, and what's left is the image on my clay. Yeah, a little bit down there didn't work right, but I'm not using this whole image, so I'm okay with it right now. Okay, so now I'm just going to let it dry. You can pat it with a paper towel or something, but you don't want to rub it. You want to just pat it dry, and then we can start working with it. I'm going to place this back on my tile so I can work with it. because what I want to do next is cut it out with my lantern cutter. So I'll place this over it so I get a nice image right in the middle there. And I'm actually not going to use all of it, so you'll see how I'm going to mess around with it in a minute. I like to use my 3D cutters with a piece of plastic wrap over them. I find that it makes the cutter not stick in my clay, and it releases really easily so that I don't have any trouble. So you'll have some scrap, you can use that, or you can just put it in your scrap pile. And then what I feel like doing here is I want to use this to create a different kind of look. So I'm going to get a flexible blade and cut some of this off. I want it to have a sort of frame. So right here at the top, I'm going to cut part of the design off, and on the bottom as well. So that when I actually make my piece, it's going to only fill the center part. And again, you can save these little guys, use them in something else. There's no waste in polymer clay. And I'm just going to grab my rubber tool to push these edges in, make sure that everything is tidy, and then the next thing is going to be baking this. I'm going to throw it right in the oven right now and bake it for the full amount of time, which for the Primo is going to be half an hour. All right, let's prep the base for the artwork while the other part is baking. And as you can see, I've already done the one from the preview part of the video. So we're just going to take that #1 clay and the plastic wrap and cut out the shape. And we're going to have scrap left over, which is good for this project because of the little frames that I want to work on. And I like to use my rubber tip tool to just clean up the edges on those 3D cutouts, because they're a little different than your metal cookie cutters. They sometimes leave an edge, and this is the perfect tool for cleaning up that edge. So you can make your pieces have a nicely done rounded edge with your rubber tip tools, because they're smaller and more precise than your fingers. You can get them in there. All right, and when those pieces come out of the oven, we will play with setting them into here. So we're out of the oven now with the transferred piece, and we can just peel that up off the tile. And if you'll notice on this one, let's see here, I've taken it and pressed the baked piece into the clay on the base, and I used the tip of my etch and pearl to make a design and a hole. So now here we're going to do something similar with this piece. So what I like to do is take a look at this, and if you have any scraggly edges, I use the edge of my fingernail to just clean it up. Sometimes you have like just a little piece that's not perfectly clean, so your nail works really well as a tool here to just kind of shave it back. So now we're going to fit this here and press it onto the unbaked clay beneath it. And that's just going to make us have a cute little thick pendant that's got more than one thing going on. See, and it's going to bake into it the second baking. And as I press here, the clay underneath is going to kind of ooze out and make a frame, which is nice. And then we had some scrap of that color. You can do whatever you want here. I'm just gonna sort of illustrate an idea that I had, and you just go with it and do what you like. But basically, here at the top and bottom, I was going to add a little clay and do a little design work with my other tools just to give it, you know, something different, something a little more robust than just laying it on there. So I've got a little bit extra at the top and bottom. I have my metal stamping tools where you can make a design. You can add more up here if you want. I kind of want a little bit more going on there. All right, and I like this tool. It's kind of like a knitting needle, but it's got a thicker, an interesting thick tip, so you can make designs with it. And then of course it's good for making holes. So we'll make a nice hole here to hang it from, and then maybe you want to do some more with some powdered pigments, which I always do with my finger. Make it even more coppery. And if you do it like that, then you're getting it on the raised portion of the design and just making it a little bit more sparkly. Maybe on the other one you want to do something similar and just kind of swipe it along where the design is that you made. There's so many possibilities. You can just decorate until you're done. And then we're going to bake this a second time. And for this one, maybe I'll even do some liquid clay on there. We've got the new Sculpey liquid clay. So it's liquid bakeable clay. This is black, which I won't use. I actually have my clear is transferred into a different container. So I'll just put a little on there. Here we go. Dedicated brush to spread it out. And then we'll have a nice clear coat on there. So here they are out of the oven and cool, and we can pop them off this tile. So what we have is the finish transfer, and you can finish the backs however you like. There are lots of ways to finish the back of a pendant. But yeah, it looks great, and this transfer is going to stay on there. It's permanent. This one is the one that we put the layer of liquid clay over. Now that thin layer of clay, it's basically matte and totally transparent, but it's sealed the transfer so it won't scratch or anything. Now if you wanted to, you could shine it using a heat tool. So that's what I did. I just hit it with my heat tool, and now it's got a shiny finish. So the Sculpey liquid clay is really nice as a like the final finish coat. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed those ideas on transferring, and that you'll join us again next week on Polymer Clay TV. See you next time.